am Precious Mzea Sakaleji. Welcome to Camnet TV Main News. The headlines. Constitutional Court Majority Judgment okays election in KABUSHI and KWACHA. Government advances talks with KCMU investor. Former President Edgar Lungu invited to attend National Day of Prayer. In international news, Nigeria floods death toll rises to 603 as government calls for more evacuations. And in sports, under 17 and under 20 handball boys national team leave for Zimbabwe. Details coming through after this commercial.
You know I can take her a bit.
Yes, my dear.
I was thinking of getting you a Bugatti for your birthday.
Really?
I'm quiet. My name is Yana.
Don't worry, my dear. That's why there is insurance.
Insurance?
You heard me.
Not just any kind of insurance, but Savenda General Insurance, a company that offers superior customer service, highly professional and dedicated staff. We are not just any insurance company, but an insurance company that actually pays our claims. We cover, among others, fire, marine, aviation, engineering, agriculture, motor vehicle, and miscellaneous insurance. So, live life to the full, knowing that Savenda General Insurance has got you covered. Savenda General Insurance. Insurance excellence.
Prime plots filled with beautiful views are now available for sale in Palabana. They will have tarred roads, electricity, water, golf course, 24-hour security, and more. They are on title and you can view them. With a standard 20% initial deposit, you will already be on your way to owning land Kumayad. We have 40 by 25 meters going for 240,000 and our 50 by 42 going for 300,000. Both have flexible payment plans. They are located 28 kilometers from Crossroads Mall and 16 kilometers from New Kasama's Boom Gate along Leopards Hill Road. For viewings, purchases and inquiries, call the numbers on the screen.
And now the main news in detail. The Lusaka High Court has struck out a matter in which two business firms sued United Party for National Development chairman for special duties, William Banda, for allegedly uttering defamatory words against them, which resulted in clients allegedly abandoning their lodge, resulting in them making a loss. According to the order signed by Judge Ruth Chibabuka, it has been ordered that the matter be struck out given the non-attendance of the parties. Raphael Lesa, trading as Raphael Lesa General Dealers, and Evelyn Shumba, trading as Reveal Executive Lodge, had earlier contacted to their statement of claim that Mr. Banda stormed their lodges in the company of journalists from various institutions, among them Camnet TV, and armed police officers, and accused them of being in possession of maize from DMMU.
A civil lawsuit that two business firms had commenced against politician William Banda in the Lusaka High Court, where they were seeking, among other reliefs, that the court orders Mr. Banda pay them damages for injury of reputation after he stormed at their lodge located in Lusaka's Mutendere compound and alleged that they were storing maize and fertilizer from the DMMU has been thrown out. Raphael Lesa, trading as Raphael Lesa General Dealers, and Evelyn Shumba, trading as Reveal Executive Lodge, sued Mr. Banda, chairman for special duties under the United Party for National Development, for alleged defamation. According to a statement of claim that was earlier filed in court, the plaintiffs disclosed that on the 3rd of September 2021, while in the company of journalist Mr. Banda stormed Reveal Executive Lodge, while he interrogated Raphael Lesa, trading as Raphael Lesa General Dealers, and falsely and maliciously uttered defamatory words against him by alleging that he was in possession of maize from the Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit.
This is why I'm asking.
But if I tell you that this is from DMMU,
not a long time ago, you were distributing meal from here.
Now
that meal also you bought it from the dealer. Which dealer did you buy that meal from?
Who is saying I was buying meal to distribute? Who is saying that? You are supposed to ask me what happened with the meal that was frauded here. And then I give you reasons. Why was it frauded? These guys had no capacity of a warehouse where they can fraud for the people of Mtendere East.
Which one?
The councillor and the whole team. They were the ones who were in charge of the distribution, not me.
The plaintiff had submitted that during this period, Mr. Banda had stormed the lodge. Their said lodge was booked by Plan International for a workshop, and a number of individuals, however, checked out from the said lodge after the incident occurred. The plaintiff then later requested that the court enters default judgment in the case on ground that Mr. Banda had failed to file his appearance or defense in the case as required by the law. A direction was then issued by the court, but no party followed the directive or made any of their appearance. This has left the Lusaka High Court now dismiss the matter for want of prosecution on account that there has been little progress made by the parties in the case. Other relief sought by the plaintiffs were that Mr. Banda of the ruling UPND pays them damages for loss of business, and also that the court grants them an order restraining Mr. Banda from continuing to publish the defamatory remarks against them. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
The Constitutional Court has declined to order for the cancellation of by-elections in KABUSHI and KWACHA constituencies after two candidates withdrew but later rescinded their decision. This was in a petition in which Green Party President Peter Sinkamba and governance activist Isaac Mwanza wanted the court to determine whether the Electoral Commission of Zambia contravened the Constitution when it failed to cancel an election and call for fresh nominations in both KABUSHI and KWACHA constituencies when independent candidates rendered their resignation on 12 and 13 September respectively. Majority of 2 judges has dismissed the petition, while minority of 1 says it would have granted relief sought.
It was quite an emotional Monday afternoon for the Opposition Patriotic Front after the Constitutional Court ruled that the Electoral Commission of Zambia did not contravene the Constitution when it allowed the go-ahead of by-elections in KWACHA and KABUSHI constituency. Green Party President Peter Sinkamba and governance activist Isaac Mwanza wanted the court to order the commission cancel the by-elections and call for fresh nominations. The two wanted the court to determine whether the commission contravened the Constitution when it failed to cancel an election and call for fresh nominations in the said 2 constituencies when independent candidates tendered their resignation on the 12th and 13th of September, respectively. Recently, the 2 independent candidates, however, rescinded their earlier decision. In its majority of 2 judges, the Constitutional Court this afternoon dismissed the petition, while the minority of 1 says it would have granted the relief sought.
But they have also accepted that an election can be held outside the 90 days. Means that they have now given room for the High Court to deliver its judgment. They have given room for the Court of Appeal to deliver its judgment, and then an election can go ahead afterwards. So as long as the court order is in place, it means that the election in KABUSHI and KWACHA remains in jeopardy.
We would like to urge Zambians, including the ECZ, to take a leaf of the stern warning that the minority judgment gave to ECZ. They have been very reckless in how they've been managing elections in this country, especially beyond 2021. Because what you have seen is even why we have come to court so many times because of the KWACHA and KABUSHI by-election and even other by-elections. It's because people are dissatisfied with the way the Electoral Commission has been conducting itself.
As it stands, the Opposition Patriotic Front has no candidate on its ticket in the 2 respective constituencies after the Commission refused to accept the nomination papers of Mr. Lusambo for KABUSHI and Joseph Malanji for KWACHA constituency on the 25th of August 2022.
We'll read the 2 judgments as to the kind of absurdity the majority judgment would create in the handling of elections in Zambia, where, as they said, that because there was a stay and because of Article 57 read together with Article 52, that the Electoral Commission of Zambia was not obliged to cancel elections. What would have happened had there been a stay? Are the two judges suggesting to us that the elections would have proceeded with the names of two people who had resigned, who had withdrawn their candidature?
Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
The Opposition Patriotic Front has urged government to balance its free education policy by releasing grants for secondary and primary schools for the third term. PF Media Director Antonio Mwanza says this delay by government to disburse the funds has created panic and uncertainty ahead of the forthcoming examinations preparations. Mr. Mwanza has noted that schools will find it difficult to prepare for the forthcoming examinations due to lack of funds, among other issues. Mr. Mwanza says he has been receiving complaints from school heads over the delay by government in releasing grants for this quarter of Term 3 is quite crucial in the calendar of education in Zambia because of exams for grade 7, 9 and 12.
This is seen in the results. You have seen that the results of our grade 9, grade 7 and now grade 12 are worsening. Our kids are failing in schools because the schools are not being given adequate financing. We want to remind the president that when he pronounces a new policy of free education, he must balance. You can't provide free education when you are not giving the schools adequate financing. And we want to urge the government to increase the allocation to schools so that the schools can have adequate money to handle their business. We are very worried that the grade 12, grade 7 and grade 9 exams might be affected, and we want to urge the government to quickly release the finances to the secondary schools and the primary schools to conduct the management of these exams in a conducive manner. Complaints are coming from head teachers across the country. We have received these complaints from head teachers. They're the ones that have given us the full extent of the failure by government to adequately fund their schools. Some schools are getting as low as 4,000 kwacha per term as allocation, and I want to make it very clear there's a difference. In case the minister or anybody from the ministry wants to say we have given grants, there's a difference between the examination allocation and the grant that goes to the schools. Examination allocation is different, it's totally different, and schools are funded with grants per term, but also there is a quarterly funding that is supposed to go to the schools for management of other activities such as exams, and that's a quarterly funding that has not gone to the schools. A lot that is required to prepare for the exams. Schools need money for security, to hire police officers, to organize safe rooms, to provide transport to pick the exams from the district centers every day, to allow the invigilators to take in their swearing-in oaths, to allow the invigilators to have access to lunch, to provide for the entire management of the exams for the grade 7, grade 9 and grade 12. And the government has not yet released the quota for the examinations.
Meanwhile, Ministry of Information and Media Director spokesperson Tawo Kawana has charged that the Opposition Patriotic Front is undergoing a post-traumatic disorder after losing elections and has resorted to peddling falsehood against United Party for National Development Administration. Mr. Kawana has dispelled assertions by the Opposition PF Media Director Antonio Mwanza, suggesting that the government has failed to fund schools and the handling of school exams is likely to be affected. Mr. Kawana tells journalists that the Examination Council of Zambia, which is mandated to run exams, has been fully funded. He says, contrary to what the PF is allegedly insinuating, the government is up to date when it comes to financing schools in the country. And Mr. Kawana says the government is ready to provide psychosocial counseling services to the PF officials so that they can be in a position to provide credible checks and balances.
There is no iota of truth in what has been stated particularly so by the opposition political party, the Patriotic Front. Now, we want to say that we understand what our colleagues or what colleagues in the Patriotic Front are going through. It can best be described as a post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, in this disorder is when you have undergone a traumatic experience, such as losing elections. You fall into a form of depression and you begin to hallucinate. You begin to insinuate things out of your hallucination. So things that do not exist, you begin to make them up in your mind and insinuate that they exist. That is why you are able to hear colleagues in the opposition particularly stating, for example, that the government has sold targets or that the government has failed to fund schools, when in fact that is not the correct position. Schools have been funded, targets have never been sold, they are not up for selling, and there is no such a suggestion. But this is as a result of the trauma of what they went through, having lost the elections. As they say, my election, yaba. So we want to offer the colleagues in the PF that your government, your caring government, is prepared to pay for professional psychosocial counseling for the leaders in the Patriotic Front.
Government has extended an invitation to former President Edgar Lungu, opposition political parties and Zambians in general to participate in the National Day of Prayer, Fasting, Repentance and Reconciliation. Minister of Information and Media, Chushi Kasanda, says the Day of Prayer goes beyond political inclination. Ms. Kasanda, who is also Chief Government Spokesperson, told a media briefing that the Day of National Prayer will be observed countrywide, and President Hakainde Hichilema will be part of the national event to be held at the Lusaka showgrounds. She says the UPND administration has created a conducive political environment for all political players to participate without fear of being victimized.
The importance of this day is that as a nation we have covenanted ourselves with God, that God is the head of this nation. Maybe other people may be asking, if God is the head of this nation, why are we seeing so much evil, corruption, maybe abduction, violence, and so on? This should not discourage us. It's just a process we are going through as a nation. It's just like at home. Me as a pastor, I would declare that my home is the Christian home. But not everybody will agree with me, because at least maybe one or two sons will not agree with me.
We sincerely apologize, but the story attached to that clip is National Day of Prayer committee member Reverend Solomon Bulo has urged Zambians to turn up in numbers for the National Day of Prayer, Fasting and Reconciliation, slated for Tuesday, 18th October 2022, following the lifting of all COVID-19 regulations. In an interview, Reverend Mbulo has urged stakeholders from all walks of life to attend, stating that there is need to put the country in God's hands aside from hard work. He has further expressed the continuous commemoration of this day 7 years since its declaration as a sign that Zambia is growing strong in its status as a Christian nation.
The importance of this day is that as a nation we have covenanted ourselves with God, that God is the head of this nation. Maybe other people may be asking, if God is the head of this nation, why are we seeing so much evil, corruption, maybe abduction, violence, and so on? This should not discourage us. It's just a process we are going through as a nation. It's just like at home. Me as a pastor, I would declare that my home is the Christian home. But not everybody will agree with me, because at least maybe one or two sons will not agree with me. Maybe there will be problematic sons or daughters. But doesn't mean that that home is not a Christian home. So what we are saying is that although we are seeing all these devices around us, but that should not be discouraged. But Zambia is a
Christian nation. Meeting under this time is a very good theme because it's about unity and peace and integration for the prosperity of Zambia. So that through hard work, we are saying it's not enough just to pray, but we should also work hard so that Zambia can be a food basket for the nations in Africa and the other world.
Government has extended an invitation to former President Edgar Lungu, opposition political parties, and Zambians in general to participate in the National Day of Prayer, Fasting, Repentance and Reconciliation. Minister of Information and Media, Trishi Kasanda, says the Day of Prayer goes beyond political inclination. Ms. Kasanda, who is also chief government spokesperson, told a media briefing that the Day of Prayer will be observed countrywide and President Hakainde Hichilema will be part of the national event to be held at the Lusaka's showgrounds. She says the UPND administration has created a conducive political environment for all political players to participate without fear of being victimized.
In the year 2015, former President Edgar Lungu declared October 18th as a public holiday in observance of the Day of National Prayer, Fasting and Reconciliation. Since then, the day has been commemorated, but not without controversy, with some opposition political party leaders opting to stay away, including the current governing political party. Calls from the clergy have been that there must be genuine reconciliation and not a cosmetic affair marred by hypocrisy. Monday, 17th October 2022, Minister of Information and Media, Trishi Kasanda, disclosed that the National Day of Prayer will be observed across the country. She says President Hakainde Hichilema will be part of the deliberations at the Lusaka showgrounds and implored Zambians.
The church service for the National Day of Prayer, Fasting, Repentance and Reconciliation will be held at the Lusaka showgrounds starting at 9 hours. President Hakainde Hichilema will lead the members of the public, government officials and other dignitaries in prayer, fasting, repentance and reconciliation. At the provincial and district levels, church activities will be held at various venues. Government wishes to thank the Zambian people for the commitment that they have continued to show towards the National Day of Prayer, Fasting, Repentance and Reconciliation, and encourages every Zambian to participate in the activities that have been organized countrywide to commemorate this day. As we commemorate this important day, government reaffirms its commitment to the declaration of Zambia as a Christian nation.
The minister also disclosed that former head of state Edgar Lungu has been invited and called on opposition political parties to equally participate.
Has the former president been invited? Yes, he has been invited. And if you look at the program, even on the program, we have put former heads of state. And I think he's the only surviving former head of state, meaning he's the one who has been invited. So definitely he is invited. He's a Zambian, and we want to be in prayer with him on that particular day, which is tomorrow.
The 2022 National Day of Prayer comes at a time when the country has been faced with several challenges, such as high crime levels ranging from gender-based violence, sodomy, and abduction, among others. The Day of National Prayer is significant in the Zambian calendar as it helps Zambia reflect on its position as a Christian nation. Patrick Soko, Camnet News.
In other news, the Ministry of Mines and Minerals Development says talks around reinvestment in Mopani copper mines have reached an advanced stage with prospective investors whose identities have been withheld. Mines Minister Paul KABUSHI says government has been holding a series of talks with possible investors in the mine, adding that models agreed upon will be communicated to the public at an opportune time. Meanwhile, government has given a 90-day amnesty to all illegal miners to legalize their operations. Mr. KABUSHI says those who will be found on the wrong side of the law after the amnesty period comes to an end on the 17th of January 2023 will be prosecuted.
Debates surrounding the sustainability of Mopani copper mines and Konkola copper mines on the copper belt have continued to raise eyebrows as the future of the two mines look bleared. Minister of Mines and Mineral Development Paul KABUSHI, however, says talks of reinvesting in Mopani copper mines have reached an advanced stage with would-be investors whose identity has been withheld. The minister, who briefed the media in Lusaka Monday, says government has been holding serious talks behind the scene with the would-be investors and has assured the Zambians that they will be very happy with the outcome of the talks.
And I want to inform you, and through you the nation, that the talks for reinvestment into Mopani are very advanced, and there are meetings behind the scenes that are taking place, very, very serious meetings with investors who are coming into Mopani. The model that will be there will inform the nation, but I want to tell you that whatever we are doing around Mopani, Zambians are going to be very, very happy.
The minister also spoke to the issue of Konkola copper mines and Chambishi metals.
There are no longer legal battles between us and Vedanta. We are sitting around the table now on the way forward for KCM. Please quote me correctly. I have not announced who is coming or who we are working with going forward over KCM. Also, as a sweetener, I want to tell you that talks for the Chambishi metals are also advanced in terms of opening the operations of Chambishi metals.
Meanwhile, government has given a 90-day amnesty to all illegal miners to legalize their operations, failure to which the law will take its course.
Giving that amnesty, meaning beyond January 17th, we stop the amnesty. What do I mean by amnesty? It means that we are not going to grab your land or your mine or your whatever. We want to formalize it. Beyond the 90 days that we've given, if you are found doing illegal mining, you will be arrested.
The minister also announced that government will this Wednesday, 19th October 2022, open the Cadastre Department, which will look into issues of mining licenses.
Wednesday, 19th, we open Cadastre Department and we begin licensing. So I want the nation to know this has been a very topical issue.
The minister also announced that all mining companies will now be restricted to an initial number of 5 licenses, which means those that require more than 5 licenses should be able to justify their reasons. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Green Economy and Environment Minister Mr. Collins Nzovu has charged that Zambia faces many environmental challenges that are derailing progress towards the attainment of the Vision 2030, which seeks to make Zambia a prosperous middle-income country. Speaking during the launch of the Zambian Parliamentary Caucus on the Environment and Climate Change Strategic Plan, the minister says government has realized the importance of lawmakers in fostering change at grassroots level, hence the need for parliamentarians to actively get involved. He says the strategic plan will help guide the climate change agenda. The launch saw various partners from civil society, parliamentarians from the region and other partners across the globe.
Climate change remains one of the most pressing issues of our time, with stakeholders describing this as an emergency. Climate change affects various sectors of the economy at household, national and global level, with the worst hit being the majority poor. At national level, Zambia's main agricultural activities are rain-fed, meaning any interruption of rainfall as a result of climate change makes people vulnerable and threatens the national food basket. Zambia, with a dedicated ministry that looks at matters of climate change, says this needs concerted efforts to combat or at least slow the process at which climate change is ravaging the country. In this regard, the Zambia Parliamentary Caucus on Environment and Climate Change Strategic Plan for 5 years has been launched, whose aim is to champion matters of climate change at grassroots level. HIVO's Southern Africa Country Engagement Director, William Chilofya, says parliamentarians are better placed to amplify the voices of the environment in climate change.
See members of parliament as key stakeholders for us to work closely around climate finance. As you are aware, Zambia has done one of the best cases, I think in Africa now, where a lot of resources have been taken to the grassroots through the Coast Development Fund. And in working with members of parliament, we, the Voices for Just Climate Action, we feel that we can help communities to see beyond the usual problems that they see of lack of desks, fertilizer, among others, but also need members of parliament to raise the voice of climate action at a level where most of us in civil society will not actually reach.
Minister of Green Economy and Environment Collins Nzovu says matters of climate change are cross-cutting, hence the need for our stakeholders to play a part in combating the vice.
Name change to Zambia Parliamentary Focus on Environment and Climate Change speaks to your intention to ensure that climate change is addressed. That is a crisis. That mitigation and adaptation measures have to be upped. That we have to build resilience. I think for me, this is very, very important. For us, this is key. And also, your invitation to us to join tourism, to work together, because these two key ministries cannot work apart. We complement each other. No wildlife sustainability, no wildlife increase can occur without a sustainable environment.
Meanwhile, Second Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Moyo, says working with the Zambia Parliamentary Caucus on Environment and Climate Change, he will ensure that the agenda of climate change is championed.
A People's Representative Board, the National Assembly of Zambia has long recognized the environmental damage and climate change as threats to humanity. And this it requires immediate action to minimize waste impact on our people. We have also recognized that action is required for all actors at all levels. Our expectation that our members of the ZPC EEC will take a leading role in this initiative as we roll it out to all constituencies across the country. As National Assembly of Zambia, we believe each country must do its part, and as such, actions by our parliament count a great deal.
We are determined to continue advancing the environmental and climate change agenda of this country and beyond. Our commitment to this agenda is symbolized by today's launch of our second strategic plan, which will guide our work going forward for the next 5 years.
Zambia is signatory to the Paris Agreement, which is a legally binding international treaty on climate change adopted by 196 parties at COP21 in Paris on the 12th of December 2015 and entered into force on the 4th of November 2016. The strategic plan, launched Monday, running for 5 years, is hoped will respond to some of the requirements on this treaty. Sharon Kalimbula, Camnet News, Lusaka.
The Zambia Institute of Independent Media Alliance, ZIMA, is disappointed in the manner the Anti-Corruption Commission, ACC, is selectively handling corruption complaints in the country. ZIMA President Jaja Kulibali has observed that ACC seems to have a specific target and bias towards some cases it investigates, especially those involving politicians. Mr. Kulibali has cited the case involving the Times of Zambia, where glaring and potential corruption has taken place in respect of suspected asset stripping for the newspaper company. He has therefore challenged the ACC to call for a tribunal where Times of Zambia workers can testify and bring out evidence in public to avoid unfair action being taken against the company.
Says about 4 whistleblowers submitted 4 different reports with evidence clearly pointing out
to the people that were involved in the forefront of making sure that the Times of Zambia closes by 31st December 2022. You may wish to know that Times of Zambia is a very viable company. It's able to pay its financial and statutory obligations, and we see no reason why it should be closed in that manner. And SEC handling such cases, why are they selective? If it was Bomando Sambo or maybe Rafael Nakachinda or Brian Mundubile at the helm of the Times of Zambia during the PF days, they would have already moved in quickly. Another election candidate, an opposition a politician trying to participate in an election, SEC will move in quickly. But why are they taking time to move in when we have evidence in our hands? We've submitted those reports. We've got whistleblowers who have submitted reports, but SEC is quiet. So we want to know if SEC is only good at dealing with political opponents or what, because that is a very serious, clear case. IDC did not do what was supposed to be done. They did not do what was supposed to be done. They did things illegally, and that is what has prompted us to issue such a statement as Zima. And we are not going to rest until the correct thing is done.
In other news, the Ministry of Health, working with the Office of the Area Councillor in Lusaka's Ngwerere Ward 22 Garden Compound, have flagged off the spraying of homes to prevent the spread of malaria due to mosquitoes that have festered the area. A resident, Wellington Mboza, explains that mosquitoes in the area have become a nuisance such that the residents fail to sleep in the night. Meanwhile, Area Councillor Adrian Banda says the chemicals being used are very powerful and can last a period of 6 months. Mr. Banda, however, says there is resistance from some households to have their homes sprayed and has since called on the residents to comply with the process.
Garden Compound in Lusaka's Mandevu constituency has become a breeding ground of mosquitoes, which has been forcing some residents to fail to sleep at night, while others have been forced out of their homes. The area, which also houses a sewer pond, has now been marked as a potential home of malaria cases. To mitigate this challenge, the Office of the Area Councillor, with the support from the Ministry of Health, have flagged off the process of spraying the homes in Ngwerere Ward 22 with the hope of bringing the situation under control. The residents spoken to are happy with the exercise.
Paona wospray tenzolira nthawi itali mosquito yavuta so apa taona kuti abantu bayamba so ndisokondwera so abantu tibauza kuti tonse tenchite spray so that manyumba yathu yachingirizidwe na uzuzu uliko malaria niyoipa.
Meanwhile, Area Councillor Adrian Banda says some residents are being resistant to the exercise and has since appealed to them to comply with the officers in order to stop the spread of malaria.
Thanks to Ministry of Health for such tremendous support towards our ward, as the people have been crying in terms of mosquito, which we are facing here in the Gardens Ward 22. My appeal to the general public and the people living in my ward, please allow officers, these people who are doing spraying, because if you refuse, tomorrow you come and try to say, you know, we have lobbied for these things to be happening, and today you find that other houses there's some resistance, they don't want to be services to be offered. So please, let's embrace them, let's allow them to do their work so that mosquitoes reduces here in our area.
The attainment of Zambia's goal of being a prosperous and middle-income country by the year 2030, as stipulated in its Vision 2030, is dependent on, among other things, a healthy and productive population. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
We'll take our first set of commercials. Coming next is more news after this.
In our quest to serve nations and develop Africa, Savenda is investing in the agriculture sector so as to produce supply for both local and international markets, housing over 12,000 pullets that are nurtured and fed with our locally made stock feed that comes from our own locally grown maize and soya beans. all processed from our recently installed milling and mixing plant. Our over 95,000 layers have an output capacity of over 1,500 trays of fresh eggs per day that are carefully selected and packaged for all the leading stores and supermarkets nationwide. Our greenhouses are fitted with the latest irrigation system, and the seedlings are nurtured to ensure only healthy plants reach the fields. With our deliberate planting schedule, we are better placed to supply constantly without interruption, thus reliable. Savenda Farms is also changing lives of its dedicated workforce drawn from the local community and beyond. So the next time you think fresh and green, think Savenda Farms.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. RenGlow, your smart irrigation partner.
Welcome back. We continue with the rest of the main news. Mutambe Basic School in Mandevu constituency, Lusaka, risks being encroached as the school, despite sitting on vast land, is not fenced off amidst high levels of land encroachment in the community. Speaking when Area Member of Parliament Christopher Shakafuswa visited the school to appreciate challenges faced by public schools in his constituency, school head teacher Anna Lungu says there is need for quick consideration to fence off public schools using the Constituency Development Fund. Meanwhile, the Area Member of Parliament has revealed that the construction of classrooms for persons with disability to also encompass skills training will be considered using the CDF in his constituency, noting that the focus has been on mainstream schools with children with disabilities lagging behind.
One would think that a public facility like a school would not have to worry about land encroachment, as it is a well-established facility. In a community like Mandevu constituency and in Zambia, where issues of land illegality are rampant, school head teacher of Mutambe Basic School Anna Lungu knows that land encroachment is a continuous worry for the school, as it is an ever-existing threat in the community, especially that the school sits on vast land which is not fenced off. She adds that there is need to put up drainages close to the school, noting that the school is not accessible during the rain season due to flooding. The school head teacher was speaking when Area Member of Parliament Christopher Shakafuswa visited the school.
Already in the pipeline, we are aware that the Ward Development Committee is trying to give us a 1x3 classroom blocks. We say thank you so much, but I think more can be done because the population is quite huge. I think the challenges that we have, Your Honorable, are many. In the rain season, this place is, I think, it's clean and green, but when it rains now, so, oh, this is Mtambi, it floods. But this now, I think, is not only part of the school. I think if we can have a drainage uphill there, so that water diverts going that side, so that at least we will reduce the floods that are coming to school. Because of the increased population, I think the need of the desks cannot be overemphasized.
In responding to the concerns of the head teacher, Mandevu Member of Parliament Christopher Shakafuswa will be taken care of under the Constituency Development Fund. He further says another aspect that will be considered for CDF in his constituency will be the construction of classrooms for children with disabilities.
But if you look at the services, the amenities within the constituency, they are not matching the demand by the population. And so it will only take working together between the parents, the school managers, the councillor, the CDF committee, and myself. Of course, we present these problems to the government.
Stating that these have been neglected for a long time. The Member of Parliament, who also inspected other facilities like clinics within the constituency, has further called for the submission of problem areas to help in the planning of CDA for the coming years. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
United Teachers Union of Zambia Director for Media and International Relations, Gracious Mtale, has urged traditional leaders to help in sensitizing their members on the importance of teachers in their communities, stating that teachers are being beaten up and harassed in some rural areas of the country. Reacting to the recent clobbering of a teacher by Nyawo dancers and the beating of a headmaster of Chibombo by community members, Mr. Mtale says if teachers are not protected, the free education agenda will be defeated as teachers will be afraid of teaching in some parts of the country. Meanwhile, also speaking on the plight of teachers, National Union of Public and Private Educators of Zambia Secretary General Nelson Mwale has called for a public-private partnership for the construction of teachers' houses, noting that teachers in rural areas have continued living in grass-thatched houses while government is constructing more schools.
Teachers in some parts of the country have continued facing challenges in executing their duties. The case of Eastern Province's Vubi District and Central Province's Chiwombo District, where a teacher was reportedly clobbered by Nyawo dancers on the way to work and a head teacher beaten up by community members. The incidents have also come as a source of concern for some stakeholders who say this will intimidate teachers from working in certain parts of the country and defeat the free education policy which calls for more teachers. Among those who have condemned these incidents is the United National Teachers Union of Zambia UNITUS, whose Director for Media and International Relations, Gracious Mtale, has implored traditional leaders like chiefs to sensitize on the importance of teachers.
UNITUS would like to salute Chief Pemamoyo of the Chewa people for the role he played in restoring sanity in the Vubi incident and the move he has taken to discipline culprits involved. We also call upon law enforcement agencies to bring to book every culprit involved in both the Chivombo and Vubi fracases. God protect and bless the teacher.
In a separate interview, National Union of Public and Private Educators of Zambia, NUPE Secretary General Nelson Mwale, has also highlighted the plight of rural teachers, stating that these face problems in finding decent accommodation.
Those that have got money can put up accommodation in a number of these rural areas for our teachers and these other civil servants to rent. Otherwise, as it is, it's terrible. You see that the other day we even lost twins belonging to our newly recruited teacher somewhere in Western Province because this teacher rushed, elsewhere, and the children were on their own and they got bent in a grass-thatched pit latrine. It's a very, very regrettable situation.
The NUPE Secretary General further says there is need to come up with an attractive allowance for teachers in science and math subjects so as to keep them away from migrating from the education sector, noting that teachers for these subjects are limited. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Several churches have come together by forming an organization called Outreach Children Protection, OCP, aimed at rehabilitating street kids. Speaking during a media briefing, Bishop Bob Sinamunsanga of Pilgrim Wesleyan Church of Lusaka says the organization is in talks with government to complement its efforts in taking care of the plight of street kids. Bishop Sinamunsanga says most street kids are children of visually impaired parents who have been abandoned and have resorted to criminal activities and drug abuse.
We have seen children sleeping in the streets, in the towns, some under those bridges. No care. We wonder how they are earning their living. We have taken a walk in Lusaka and the Copper Belt towns where blind parents simply just say, leave them and the children get stranded. If you go under fly bridges here in Lusaka, you see them all over and they are sleeping there. And this cannot be left unattended. It's very serious. They are human beings. They are just like ourselves. They were born. They didn't know that they can be abandoned like that, suffering in such a way. So what do we do? We need the government. The government is our mother, is our father. That we work together. We as Christians. In all developmental projects, trying to rehabilitate these children.
About 25 traders have been affected by fire that swept through furniture stands along the Chiwempala Road in the early hours of today. Chingola Municipal Council Assistant Public Relations Manager says 23 makeshift stands with furniture and 2 containers containing cement were burnt, destroying items worth thousands of kwacha. The fire, whose cause has not yet been established, started around 03 hours, and when the council was alerted, they quickly engaged Konkola Copper Mines Fire Brigade, who arrived at the scene and managed to prevent the fire from further spreading to the rest of the shops.
As Chingola Municipal Council, we wish to confirm that there was an inferno in the early hours of today along the Chiwempala Road. The fire, which started around 03 hours, swept through 25 stands, 23 that had furniture and 2 that had cement. Council was caught and they quickly engaged KCM Fire Brigade, who came on board and did everything they could to quench the fire and see to it that it doesn't further spread to other nearby stands. As council, we wish to sympathize greatly with all traders that have lost goods worth thousands of kwacha in this inferno.
We'll take our second set of commercials. Coming next is international and sports news.
From time immemorial, we have had different types of lighting options, from those that can burn down our investments in minutes to those that dig holes in our pockets due to constant replacement and huge consumption of our ZESCO units. Savenda Electric introduces the new and advanced electric bulb with cutting-edge technology of LED that has low power consumption, gives out bright white light, and lasts up to 25,000 hours. Savenda Electric manufactures all types of LED light, like plastic LED fluorescent tubes, down lights, ceiling lights, outdoor fittings, and solar street lights made to customer specifications. Let's live on the bright side of life by choosing the wide range of Savenda electric lighting solutions that are available in all leading stores and supermarkets countrywide. For orders, call 0962-642-490 or email jnbunda@savenda.com or pchabula@savenda.com.
For immediate coverage of any breaking or latest news in Zambia and around the world on Camnet television, call the numbers on your screen. Camnet television, bringing to your screens fair news, impartial news, credible and reliable news all the time. Get the whole truth on Camnet World News. Television, not just another channel.
Welcome back. Now getting into our international item. Some 600 people were confirmed dead Sunday, the Nigerian Minister for Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development announced during a media briefing. 2,407 persons have been injured. A total of 2.5 million people have been affected and 82,053 houses have been completely damaged. In other news, the African Union on Sunday called for an immediate ceasefire in Tigray, where violence is escalating, with people in the northern Ethiopian region saying they were ready to respect it. Here's a roundup of international news.
The death toll in Nigeria's worst flood in a decade has risen. Some 600 people were confirmed dead Sunday as the Nigerian Minister for Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development held a media briefing. 2.5 million people have been affected and over 82,000 houses have been completely damaged. Minister Sadia Omar Farouk called on the state governments, local government councils and communities to prepare for more flooding by evacuating people living on floodplains to high grounds, provide tents and relief materials, as well as medical supplies for a possible outbreak of waterborne diseases. So far, floods have affected 31 of Nigeria's 36 states. Over 300,000 hectares of farmland have been destroyed, including many roads and other key infrastructure. The federal government announced last week it had started delivery of relief supplies across the country.
Authorities in Ethiopia's rebel-held Tigray region announced Sunday they would respect a ceasefire as the African Union, AU, called for an immediate truce. Fighting has intensified in the country's war-torn north, and the town of Shire has been bombed for several days in a joint offensive by Ethiopian and Eritrean troops against Tigrayan rebels, resulting in several civilian casualties. Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's government and the Tigrayan authorities have since accepted an AU invitation to talk, but negotiations set for last weekend in South Africa failed to materialize. No new date has been announced. On Sunday, AU Commission Chair Musa Faki Mahama urged the warring sides to recommit to dialogue as per their agreement to direct talks to be convened in South Africa. In response, the Tigray People's Liberation Front TPLF rebels said they were ready to respect such a pause in the fighting.
We now get into our sports item. The under-17 and under-20 handball boys national team has left for Zimbabwe for the IHF Zone 6 Challenge Trophy. Handball Association of Zambia President Victor Banda says he is confident that the two teams will bring the trophies back home. Mr. Banda has since applauded the National Olympic Committee Zambia Athletes Commission chairperson for always being on the ground to show love, support and give motivation to athletes bound for different competitions. The NOCZ Athletes Commission chairperson and board member Richard Mnenga took the time to interact with the athletes and urge them to showcase their skills and defend the trophy. In another sports item, Camnet Stars Sunday beat Kabide FC by 2-1 in the Football Association of Zambia First Division 2 match played at Kamala Primary School grounds in Lusaka. And Kabide FC coach has blamed the loss on the goalkeeper, who he says did not perform up to the expectations of the team.
Come on, guys! Wait it.
The game was okay. Camnet gave us a good game. Though in the first half we moved here and there, our goalkeeper didn't do the best, so he killed us on both goals. So, but next time, the second half we tried our best, moved here and there, we got a goal. So obviously Camnet saw that okay, we are coming here and there, so they were strong as well. But next time we're going into training. This week the boys won't rest. We'll train the whole week. The next game we'll do our best.
We thank God for this game that we had. This is week 9. We started very well, as in the game that we had 3 games in a row that we won. And then we only had a slip in between where we had a draw and a loss. And this is a great game that we had today, where we've recovered and found back our winning ways. The boys played according to instructions. As you know, coming from a draw and a loss to regain again the confidence was really hard for them.
So the game which we had was okay, despite the mistakes which we have made. We have conceded 2 goals, and we have managed to score 1. So despite how the game was, but we have managed to play as a team. We have tried our best.
The game was crucial. We've lost by 2, and we've managed to score by 1. It was a crucial game, as I've said. So thank you for the all support and for the all encouragement from the coach and from the bench.
We have played well in the first half. The opposition were beat down at the first half, but they managed to give us pressure in the second half. But we managed to maintain them, to contain them. For what I've seen, this game we have played, we are good. We are in good terms.
I think the game was fine, was a bit tough, but we've managed to win. We thank God for that, and also thank for teamwork.
Well, that sports item brings us to the end of Camnet TV main news, but before we go, here are the headlines once again. Constitutional Court majority judgment okays election in KABUSHI and KWACHA. Government advances talks with KCM new investor. Former President EDGAR LUNGU invited to attend National Day of Prayer. And in international news, Nigeria floods death toll raises to 603 as government calls for more evacuations. And in sports, under-17 and under-20 handball boys national team leave for Zimbabwe. Before we go, our Camnet verse of the day is coming from the book of Psalm 25, verse 14 to 15, and it reads, "The Lord confides in those who fear him. He makes his covenant known to them. My eyes are ever on the Lord, for only he will release my feet from the snare." Thank you for watching. I am Precious Mzea Sakaleji. Pleasant viewing.